All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to go from a blank slate to a fully working application, building a real-world REST API with Spring Boot. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how the apps on your phone get all their data, because you'll have built the very engine that makes it happen.
I mean, really think about it for a second. When you pull up your weather app or you're scrolling through your social media feed, how does all that information just pop up on your screen? It's not actually stored on your phone, so where does it all come from?
And there's the answer. The secret sauce, the magic behind pretty much every modern app, is something called a REST API. It's like this invisible bridge that connects your phone to all the data out there on the internet. And today, we're not just going to talk about it, we're actually going to build one from scratch. So what in the world is REST? The simplest way to think about it is like a universal language for the internet. It's just a set of rules, an architectural style, that lets totally different applications talk to each other without any issues. That stateless part is super important. It basically means every single request is treated like a brand new one. The server has no memory of who you are, which makes the whole system incredibly simple and really, really reliable.
Here's my favorite analogy for this. Imagine you're in a restaurant. You, the customer, are the app on your phone. The kitchen, where all the food is made, that's the server, where all the data lives. Now, you can't just barge into the kitchen yourself, right? You need a go-between. That's the waiter, the API. The waiter takes your order, your request, goes to the kitchen, and brings back exactly what you asked for, the response. So how do we give our waiter those instructions? Well, we use these standard commands called HTTP methods. They're super straightforward. Get is just for asking for data. Post is for creating something new. Put is for updating something that's already there. And delete, well, that one's pretty obvious. These four actions are the absolute foundation of almost any app you can think of.
Okay, before we start coding, we need a solid blueprint. A well-designed API is a thing of beauty. It's predictable, it's easy to use, it's a joy to work with. But a poorly designed one, it's a total nightmare. So let's cover a few ground rules for how to get it right. And here it is, the golden rule of API design. Use nouns, not verbs, for your endpoints. See, your URL should represent a thing, a resource, like users or products. The action you want to take is already defined by the HTTP method we just talked about, get, post, and so on. Sticking to this one simple rule makes your API so much cleaner and easier for people to understand. And here are a few more pro tips. Always use plural nouns. So products refers to the whole collection of products. It just makes sense. Next, use standard status codes, like 200 for everything's good and 404 for sorry, couldn't find that. It's how the API communicates back. And finally, always version your API. This is an absolute lifesaver because it lets you release a new V2 without breaking all the older apps that are still using V1. All right, enough theory, we've got our blueprint. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and actually build this thing. Let's see how Spring Boot makes this surprisingly simple. We're going to build our API using these four logical pieces. Think of them like Lego blocks. Each one has a very specific job, and when you snap them all together, they create a complete, really solid application. Let's break them down one by one. First up is the model. This is literally the blueprint for our data. It's a simple little class that just defines the shape of a user. What information do we want to store about them? An ID, a name, an email. The model defines all those fields. It's the foundation for everything else we're going to build. Next, we've got the repository. Think of this as the librarian for our data. Its only job is to talk to the database. And thanks to the power of Spring, we don't have to write all those complicated database queries. We just tell the repository, hey, save this user, or go find all the users, and it just handles it. Now for the brains of the whole operation, the service layer. This is where all your application's real logic lives. So when a request comes in to create a new user, the service is the one that coordinates the whole show. It might check if the email is valid, and then it'll tell the repository to save that new user. It's the conductor of our orchestra. And finally, we have the controller. This is the public face of our API. It's the bouncer at the front door, listening for specific URLs like /API/v1/users. When a GET request hits that URL, the controller catches it and says, aha, I know what to do with this. I need to call the getAllUsers method in my service. It's what connects the outside world to our application's brain. And by snapping those four pieces together, just like that, you've got a fully functional REST API.
We now have endpoints to get all our users, create a new one, find a specific user by their ID, and even delete one. It's a complete CRUD, create, read, update, delete application, totally ready to power a real front end. This is a huge milestone. But, building the code is really only half the battle. How can we be 100% sure that it's doing what we think it's doing? How do we prove that our API is working correctly before we ship it? This is where we add that professional polish. Testing makes sure our API is tough and reliable, and good documentation makes it possible for other developers to actually use it. Let's see how some modern tools make this part way easier than it used to be.
So, to test our endpoints, we use a tool like Postman. It basically lets us pretend to be a mobile app. We can send GET requests, POST requests, anything we want directly to our running API and see the exact response that comes back. It's an absolutely essential tool for any API developer. It's how you verify your work.
Okay, now what about documentation? Let's be honest, nobody enjoys writing documentation. But what if I told you that Spring Boot could generate beautiful, interactive documentation for you automatically? This is where a tool called Swagger comes in, and it honestly feels like magic. And I'm not kidding, this is the best part. You just add one single dependency to your project, one line, restart the app, and you get a complete professional website for exploring and even testing your API right in the browser. It is that simple. No more writing outdated Word docs. So let's just recap everything we've covered. You now get how to design and build a real RESTful API from the ground up. You know how to use the right HTTP methods, how to handle data with JSON, how to test all your endpoints with Postman, and how to automatically document the whole thing with Swagger. These are the core skills for any modern backend developer, for sure. So, we've basically handed you the complete blueprint for creating powerful APIs. The real question now is, what are you going to build with it? A to-do list? The backend for your dream mobile app? A personal blog? The possibilities are pretty much endless.